Welcome to In the Zone with Anthony. It has been a while, and let's just get right on into this because there is one man in the football world, be it college or be it pro, doing the unthinkable. And what would that be? Only one man can bring two rival networks together and converge on the same spot of ground. What are we talking about? We're talking about ESPN and Fox converging in Boulder, Colorado. Yep, that's right. Deion Sanders is spreading love this weekend as Colorado welcomes back Fox Big Noon Kickoff. ESPN heads to town. If you thought the first two weekends of the college football season for Deion Sanders in Colorado were wild, this upcoming Saturday is going to look like Woodstock. The ever-promoting Coach Prime will never turn down an opportunity to promote his program, which will certainly be the case this weekend with Fox returning and ESPN making its debut in Boulder. This is exactly what Deion Sanders had in mind for his football program when he took the job at Colorado. We expect it. I know it sounds kind of boastful. It sounds at the risk of sounding arrogant, Sanders said post-game Saturday about the two networks coming to town. We truly expect that. Well, he's about to get what he expected. Two dueling pregame shows vying for the attention of the college football world are about to go head-to-head in promoting the Colorado football program. If someone would have told you before the season that both Fox and ESPN would be broadcasting live from Boulder in Week 3, you would have been called crazy. Also, Colorado is playing Colorado State. No offense to any Rams fans out there, but this matchup doesn't scream must watch. But throw in a little Deion Sanders along with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, and now you got a game worth watching at 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. So what to expect from ESPN Fox pregame shows at Colorado? I'd say expect the unexpected. Both of these networks are going to do everything in their power to take away viewers from each show. Whether it's musical guest or the college game day guest picker, this pregame coverage will be entertaining. Thanks to Deion Sanders, Boulder will once again be in the spotlight. Right after Tennessee and Florida wrap up their game in Gainesville, ESPN will send it to a wild scene in Colorado. The build-up will be fascinating to watch from an advertising standpoint. This is the battle off the field that we've seen in the past. Big Noon Kickoff versus College Game Day. Fox focuses on Colorado Deion Sanders. ESPN banks on. So both pregame shows were in Austin last season for Alabama-Texas showdown. Now, in terms of how many people will be watching ESPN made sure to have one of its biggest subscribers wrapped up before Monday Night Football, along with another weekend of college football. So, what are your thoughts? Two networks converging on the same spot of ground. Boulder, Colorado. Colorado State versus the Colorado Buffaloes. Ought to be very, very interesting to say the least. Well, we have some more coming up for you here as we are locked in the zone. As the NFL kicked off full gear. We know it started last Thursday as the Chiefs went down to defeat on their home field, something that very rarely happens and a season opening loss. Another very rare thing that happens, especially being the defending Super Bowl champions. But we are going to look at some of the biggest losers, not so much in according with the scoreboard. Last night, if you were watching the Packers-Jets game, pardon me, I'm still linking Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers. He is wearing green, but it's a different shade of green. The Jets versus the Bills. 4 plays in, first series of offense, and you lose your quarterback. Looks like more than one team lost in this situation. First, Jets, Rodgers is done for a year with torn Achilles tendon. Aaron Rodgers injury update. The Jets QB out for season after MRI reveals complete tear of star's Achilles tendon. New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers' 2023 season is over before it really got started. After the quarterback was injured on his 4th play of the Jets' opening game, or opening drive, head coach Robert Saleh told reporters following the Jets' 22-16 overtime victory over the Buffalo Bills that they feared the 4-time NFL MVP tore his Achilles tendon. That is what was ultimately discovered following an MRI on Tuesday, CBS Sports NFL insider Jonathan Jones reports. It's not good, Saleh said. The injury will be season-ending. On the Jets' first drive Monday night, Rodgers was injured and helped off the field by trainers. After a visit to the Blue medical tent, he was carted to the locker room. After initially being labeled as questionable to return with an ankle injury, he was later downgraded to out. The Jets announced that his x-rays were negative. Rodgers suffered the injury after being sacked by veteran pass rusher Leonard Floyd on a 1st and 10 with 11:40 remaining in the first quarter. While it appeared at first that Rodgers was okay, he went back down to the turf while officials stopped play. Trainers attended to Rodgers before helping him off the field while former number 2 overall pick Zach Wilson replaced Rodgers under center. Coach Saleh told reporters after the game that Wilson will be the guy moving forward. According to Sportsline's projections, with Rodgers missing the remainder of the season, New York's chances of success naturally take a major hit. Rodgers, of course, was arguably the story of the NFL offseason as the Green Bay Packers legend was dealt to the Jets for a 1st-round pick, 2nd-round pick, 6th-round pick, and a conditional 2024 2nd-round pick. The conditional 2nd-round pick becomes a 1st-rounder if Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps in 2023. The Jets were searching for consistency at the quarterback position and landed a Super Bowl champion, 5-time All-Pro, and 10-time Pro Bowler. However, New York's football hopes and dreams have been put on hold as Rodgers is out for the 2023 season. And here are the projected win totals, what they were predicting. Wins, Rodgers in 9.6 to Wilson 5.8. Playoff percentage chance, 60% with Rodgers, 5% with Wilson. Super Bowl percentage chance, 2% with Rodgers, 0.1% with Wilson. So I told you, not only are the Jets the losers in this situation, maybe, but maybe it could be the Packers lose 1st-round pick with Rodgers' injury. Aaron Rodgers' injury. Packers lose 1st-round pick from trade as Jets QB will miss season with torn Achilles. That's why you gotta be careful what kind of contract you sign. The Jets have lost Aaron Rodgers for the season, and the quarterback's former team will feel the impact as well. Green Bay Packers will also take a big hit after Rodgers suffered a serious injury during the Jets' season opening win over the Bills. Rodgers will miss the rest of the season with a torn Achilles, meaning the Jets will now send the Packers a 2024 second-round pick instead of a first-round pick, since Rodgers will fail to play in 65% of the Jets' offensive snaps this season, as part of the stipulation in April's trade. New York would have sent the Packers a 2024 first-rounder if Rodgers played in more than 65% of the snaps. Rodgers' injury took place on his fourth play with his new team when he was sacked by Bills defensive end Leonard Floyd. Rodgers initially got up before sitting back down on the turf while awaiting medical assistance. Rodgers left the field and initially ruled as questionable to return with what he called an ankle injury. He didn't return, however, and the Jets are fearing that the four-time league MVP is done for the season. This marked only the third time since 2008 where Rodgers will have played in fewer than 15 games in the regular season. He missed 7 games after fracturing his clavicle in 2013, but returned in Week 17 to help the Packers beat the Bears while clinching the NFC North Division title. In 2017, Rodgers missed 9 games after fracturing his right collarbone. He returned and threw 3 touchdowns in a Week 15 loss to Carolina and was placed back on injured reserve when Green Bay was subsequently eliminated from playoff contention. For now, the Jets are prepared to move forward with Zach Wilson as their interim starting quarterback. In Green Bay, the Packers are coming off a Week 1 win over the Bears that saw Rodgers' heir apparent, Jordan Love, earn his first career win after throwing for 245 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it appears as if both teams lost, but maybe both teams didn't lose. Maybe in lieu of the trade and the stipulation, maybe you count that as a loss. But the telling factor will be the product on the field. Can the Jets continue to win? Will the Packers be a force to be reckoned with in that NFC North division? Well, I tell you what I'm going to do right here. I am going to pause and take a break. And when I come back in the zone, we will have more for you. So don't you dare go nowhere. Stay locked in the zone with yours truly, Anthony Smith. Welcome back to In the Zone. Yours truly, Anthony Smith. Hope you are enjoying your day wherever you are enjoying your day at, as I'm enjoying my day. Still keeping with the NFL because Week 1 was a blast. Some of you may beg to differ. But what makes it such a blast was the fact that football is back. So no, I'm not going to overreact like a lot of fan bases are doing. But I'm going to give you the one thing we learned about each NFL team in Week 1. 1, the Jets are toast without Aaron Rodgers. At least that's what the perception is. And after 1 week, we know for sure that the Cowboys have the top D. So Week 1 of the NFL typically has plenty of overreactions, yet there are some truths from each team that lingered throughout the preseason that became notable around the league. Teams can no longer hide depth charts, coverage schemes, and offensive game plans as the film is out for all 32 squads. Some teams were impressive in week 1 while others have some work to do. Yes, some teams still have some work to do. The season's only 1 week old, but each team learned or already knew some more about their squad after 60 minutes of football. Here's what we learned about each team after week 1 of the season, something to take notice heading into week 2. Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon can still coach defense. Gannon took a lot of heat from the Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs when he was the Eagles' defensive coordinator. The first-time head coach still has the magic touch on that side of the ball as the Cardinals finished with 6 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, an interception, and a defensive touchdown in the 2016 loss to Washington. The Commanders had just 248 yards and averaged 3.8 yards per play as the defense kept the Cardinals in the game and gave them a halftime lead. The personnel isn't as talented as Philadelphia, yet Gannon was able to still get Arizona to have an efficient defense. The Atlanta Falcons. They're a better running team than last year. Adding Bijan Robinson will improve a rushing attack that was already good, but Tyler Algier is also a year removed from rushing for 1,000 yards in his rookie season. Algier led Atlanta with 15 carries for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns, getting more carries than Robinson, who had 10 carries for 56 yards of his own. The two combined had 25 carries for 131 yards, averaging 5.2 yards per carry. This is Atlanta's offense, and the offensive line does an excellent job of setting up Atlanta's backs to succeed. Baltimore Ravens. Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen picked up where they left off. The best off-ball linebacker duo had another dominant game in Sunday's win over the Texans. Smith finished with 16 tackles and a sack, while Queen had 11 tackles and a sack. They also allowed just 74 yards in coverage on 8 of 14 passing, with no touchdowns allowed. The Ravens' offense is a work in progress, but Smith and Queen are in mid-season form. Buffalo Bills. Turnover issues still plague Josh Allen. Same old story for Allen, who has vowed to eliminate the turnover woes and erratic play that has plagued him in the past. Allen threw 3 interceptions and lost a fumble in the overtime loss to the Jets, keeping a team quarterback by Zach Wilson in the game. Allen had 14 interceptions and 5 lost fumbles last season, leading the NFL with 23 giveaways since the start of last year. If Allen takes care of the football, the Bills are 1-0. Those problems aren't going away. Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young has no wide receivers. The offensive line protecting Young was a problem during camp, but the rookie has few wideouts to trust in the early going. Carolina's wide receivers caught 8 passes for 68 yards on 15 targets in the loss to the Falcons, with the leading wideout having 2 catches for 23 yards, Terrence Marshall. Young was just 20 of 38 for 146 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions, but he doesn't have much to work with protection or pass catchers. Chicago Bears. Not enough DJ Moore in his debut. 2 catches for 25 yards is not why the Bears traded for Moore. Both his receptions were in the second quarter. Moore is supposed to be the number 1 wide receiver for Fields, yet the Bears quarterback didn't target him much, nor did the offense seem to have a game plan to get Moore the ball. Fields can't live up to his potential if the play calling continues to hold him back. Moore needs to get more than 2 targets. Cincinnati Bengals. Elephant in the room. Offensive line. Joe Burrow had arguably the worst game of his career, going 14 of 31 for 82 yards with a 52.2 passer rating. Of course, Burrow was hit 10 times in the loss, and the weather was poor. Burrow was rusty after missing all of camp with the calf injury and has had slow starts before, so no need to panic. The offensive line is the bigger concern, especially after landing Orlando Brown to improve the unit. If Burrow keeps getting hit, that calf injury will linger and the Super Bowl hopes will be gone. The offensive line has to be better. Cleveland Browns. The pass rushing duo was dominant in debut. The Browns brought in Zadarius Smith to help out Myles Garrett, and the dividends immediately paid off. Garrett had his usual dominant performance with a sack, 4 quarterback hits, and 6 pressures. Smith added 4 quarterback hits and 6 pressures himself, making sure Garrett could take over the game on his side of the line. Smith had a pressure rate per dropback of 24%, while Garrett was at 23.1%. Under Jim Schwartz, the Garrett-Smith duo will be an issue for opposing offensive lines all year. The Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? The defense may actually be the best in the NFL. Michael Parsons, proclaimed as such, and the All-Pro pass rusher, is probably right. Dallas forced 22 pressures against New York, finishing with 6 sacks and 12 quarterback hits in a dominant effort. The Cowboys allowed just 171 yards and 2.6 yards per play, with the exclamation point being the interception return for touchdown in the first quarter. Dallas led the league in takeaways last year while having a dominant pass rush. The unit may be even better in 2023. Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson has improved under Sean Payton. The Broncos offense scored just 16 points, but Wilson went 27 of 34 for 177 yards with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, 108.0 rating. The big plays weren't there, but there was an encouraging sign for Denver. Wilson finished 5 of 7 for 74 yards on passes that traveled 10-plus air yards, a year after having 6 interceptions on those passes in 2022. Give Wilson and Peyton more time, and he may cook again. The Detroit Lions. Jared Goff continues to play mistake-free football. Goff had another game without an interception and has thrown 359 passes without an interception, dating back to Week 9 of last season, the third longest streak in NFL history. Goff went 22 of 35 for 253 yards with a touchdown, finding 7 different receivers and took what Kansas City's defense gave him. He went 6 of 9 for 72 yards under pressure and 8 of 14 for 75 yards when blitzed, not forcing the issue and letting his offense see another play. There's a reason the Lions are 9-2 in their last 11 games. So now what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to go ahead and take another break. And when I come back, we will look at some more of this list here. So stay tuned to In the Zone with yours truly, Anthony Smith. Welcome back to In the Zone. I hope you are enjoying this wherever you're listening, wherever you get your podcast from. I hope you are enjoying being in the zone as much as I'm enjoying being in the zone with you. Yep, that's right. Taking a look at where these teams stand after week one. To be exact, the one thing we learned about each team, each NFL team in week one. So we went through Arizona, Atlanta Falcons, Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills, Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns. Which brings us to, once again, how about them Cowboys? So now that we done got through that much of the list, including Denver Broncos and the Detroit Lions, now we go to the Green Bay Packers from the frozen tundra. At least not now, though. Jordan Love shows shades of Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. What a debut for Love in the first game of the post-Rodgers era. Love finished 15 of 27 for 245 yards and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions, a 123.2 rating, completing passes to 6 different receivers in the dominant win over the Bears. He completed 7 of 9 passes on third down for 106 yards and a touchdown, while going 2 of 4 in the red zone for 2 touchdowns. Both to Romeo Dubs. Love looked every bit of what the Packers envisioned, an excellent sign for their NFC North chances. The Houston Texans. DeMarco Ryans struggles in first game as head coach. Ryans didn't have an ideal debut, burning all 3 timeouts before the 8-minute mark in the first half, and players admitting they were unsure of what plays were being called. Ryans went for it on 4th down early in the first quarter, leading to a sack on C.J. Stroud for an 11-yard loss. The Texans went 1 of 4 on 4th down in the game, showcasing how aggressive Ryans actually was with the game of management. Ryans is a first-year head coach. Coaching in his first game, there's a good chance he'll improve. Well, one thing we do know is the Houston Texans here lately have been like the Kentucky Wildcats of basketball, whereas they shuffle in those one and done players and get them out. Well, the Houston Texans have been one and done with their coaches. 1 year, you flop, you're out. Let's hope they give him more than 1 year. Win, lose, or draw. Indianapolis Colts. The running back situation is abysmal. Sure, Anthony Richardson had an up and down debut, but the Colts couldn't establish anything on the ground. The 3 running backs combined to have 16 carries for 25 yards and no touchdowns, averaging 1.6 yards per carry. The Colts miss Jonathan Taylor, who isn't returning anytime soon. Richardson needs help at running back, aside from running the ball himself, 10 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown in his debut. Perhaps Zach Moss returning from a broken arm will help. Jacksonville Jaguars. Missing a year due to suspension didn't affect Calvin Ridley. The Jaguars trade deadline acquisition last season finally was able to make his debut, finishing with 8 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Ridley was targeted 11 times, finding his way open through crisp route running and having the most of Trevor Lawrence early and often. He opened up the offense, allowing Jacksonville to average 5.0 yards per play and score 31 points. Ridley is still a number 1 wide receiver, making a young offense even more dangerous. The Kansas City Chiefs. The offense needs Kelsey back. Not having Kelsey was pretty obvious in the Chiefs' season opening loss to the Lions. Patrick Mahomes went 9 of 22 for 79 yards with an interception, 32.2 rating in the second half, also going 2 of 21 with an interception when targeting wide receivers in the final 30 minutes. The wide receivers had a poor game, but Mahomes needs Kelsey back to complete the offense. Kelsey is Mahomes' number one receiver, even if he doesn't technically play that position. Life will be easier for Kansas City's offense in Week 2. Las Vegas Raiders. Jacoby Myers was an excellent free agent addition. The Raiders were able to reunite Myers with Josh McDaniels this offseason, and his Raiders debut reaped immediate benefits. Myers finished with 9 catches for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Raiders' win over the Broncos, catching a touchdown on the first drive of the season, and the game-winning score with 6:34 left. Myers' performance will eventually open up the offense for Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. A good problem to have for Las Vegas going forward. He's a reliable pass catcher for Jimmy Garoppolo, needing to be in the right system to thrive. McDaniels provides that offense. The Los Angeles Chargers. The run offense will benefit Justin Herbert. Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly put on a show against the Dolphins, as the two combined for 32 carries for 208 yards and 2 touchdowns. Eckler had 117 yards and a score, while Kelly had 91 yards and a touchdown. Even with Eckler terrorizing the Dolphins' defense, he had just 3 touches for 8 yards in the first quarter in a one-score game. The Chargers have to trust their backs more down the stretch, as they prove they can carry the offense when needed. The Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford makes a difference. The Rams certainly welcomed the return of their quarterback, as Stafford went 24 of 38 for 334 yards with a 91.3 passer rating, no touchdowns or interceptions. Stafford wasn't sacked and found Tutu Atwell and rookie Puka Nacua often, as both wideouts finished with over 100 yards receiving. The Rams only punted once and scored on all 5 second-half possessions, showing signs of the Super Bowl championship offense. While Los Angeles may not be at that level, having Stafford back gives them an opportunity to win games if he plays like he did Sunday. The Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa is the key to the 2023 season. A healthy Tagovailoa makes the Dolphins a Super Bowl contender in the AFC. Tagovailoa completed 28 of 45 passes for 466 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception for a 110 rating, throwing the game-winning touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill with 1:45 left to put Miami ahead for good. Last year, the Dolphins were on their way to making a deep playoff run before Tagovailoa's concussion issues lingered and he was lost for the season. They stole a game in Los Angeles on Sunday because of what Tagovailoa brings to the passing game. Minnesota Vikings. Brian Flores. If I can find it again. There we go. Brian Flores' defense makes impact. The hire of Flores as defensive coordinator was one of the best in the NFL this offseason, and the early returns are promising. The Vikings allowed 242 total yards and 3.6 yards per play, holding the Buccaneers to just 20 points. 3 points were off a fumble by the Vikings offense at their own 18, which was the difference in the final score. The The Vikings didn't have a single game holding an opponent under 250 yards last year. So Flores is really already making an impact on the unit. Tell you what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to pause right here. Take me another break because I need one. My jaws are working. So keep it locked right here in the zone with yours truly, Anthony Smith. I'll be right back with you shortly. So don't you dare go nowhere. Well, welcome back as we try to go ahead and put the wraps up on this last part of this things that we've learned from week 1 of the NFL season. So now we take a look at the New England Patriots. The offense is much better than last season. Despite the slow start, the Patriots looked like they actually had a pulse on offense. Mac Jones went 35 of 54. Wait a minute, hold on. Mac Jones went 35 of 54 for 316 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception, 91.3 rating, but went 17 of 21 for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns and 1 interception on throws from the numbers to the hash, a 101.6 rating. The run game wasn't there, but Jones found holes in the Eagles' defense he exploited to move the change. There is still work to do on the revamped unit, but Sunday was a promising start, especially for the quarterback. New Orleans Saints, don't sleep on Rashid Shaheed. He's been mentioned here several times before, but Shaheed continued to show why he's going to be a player in this league. Shaheed finished with 5 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown in the win, including a 19-yard score that gave the Saints the lead for good in the third quarter. He was out wide on 21 snaps and in the slot on 14, using his speed to corral a 41-yard catch in the fourth quarter to essentially seal the win for New Orleans. With Chris Olave and Michael Thomas surrounding him, Shaheed can make some big plays for the Saints this year. New York Giants, the offensive line is still not good. Let me say that once again. The offensive line is still not good. New York added center John Michael Schmitz as its significant change on the offensive line. The Giants need to upgrade the unit even more after what the Cowboys defense did. The Giants allowed 6 sacks and 22 pressures in the shutout loss, as guard Mark Glowinski allowing 4 sacks on his own. Daniel Jones went 8 of 16 for 58 yards and an interception under pressure, having no time to get into a rhythm. The Giants boasted about the line being better, but it might have gotten worse. New York Jets, they're cursed at quarterback. Let me just say it like this. I heard Mike Harmon and Jason Smith saying it like this. I'm gonna try to say it right. They said if the Jets didn't have to have, if quarterback wasn't a position, the Jets would probably have 6, 7, or 8 Super Bowls if quarterback wasn't a position. They said something to that effect. But they went on to say that they are cursed at the quarterback position. Maybe they can recreate some magic and bring back Joe Namath. Anyway, Aaron Rodgers lasted 4 snaps before being lost for the season with an Achilles injury. The Jets had their franchise quarterback and the player that could take them to the elite in the AFC. Instead, they're trying to survive with Zach Wilson at quarterback. And no good free agent option available. The Jets are in survival mode, relying on their defense and running game to get the team wins. The sad truth is this: there are no good options available that won't cost much, and no team is parting ways with their starting quarterback. The franchise just can't have good quarterback play. Well, there is news that the agents of Colin Kaepernick have reached out to the Jets. Yeah, no, not going to happen. Philadelphia Eagles. The offensive line contributed to rusty performance on offense. Jalen Hurts only led the Eagles on 1 touchdown drive in the season opener, which only happened once all of last year, Week 18 versus Giants. The Eagles didn't take deep shots down the field, mainly because Hurts was under pressure all afternoon. Hurts was just 3 of 11 for 10 yards with a 39.6 passer rating under pressure, being sacked 3 times. Perhaps Bill Belichick's mixed coverage had a lot to do with it, but the offensive line wasn't its usual dominant self. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Horrendous start for the offense. Credit goes to the 49ers defense here, but Pittsburgh didn't do anything to move the chains early in the game. On the first 5 drives, the Steelers ran 15 plays for 1 yard and went 3 and out each time. Counting the 10 penalty yards, Pittsburgh was a minus 9 net yards when it was down 20. San Francisco scored on its first 4 possessions. The entire performance was poor, especially for an offense that has the skill position players Pittsburgh has. The San Francisco 49ers. Forget about that Brock Purdy elbow injury. You wouldn't know Purdy had elbow surgery after watching him maestro the 49ers offense. In his first game back from a torn UCL, Purdy went 19 of 29 for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions for an 111.3 passer rating. In the pocket, Purdy went 17 of 25 for 208 yards and 2 scores as Kyle Shanahan made sure he kept his quarterback where he was most comfortable and least vulnerable. The 49ers still haven't lost a game Purdy starts and finishes. The Seattle Seahawks. Losing Charles Cross and Abe Lucas was devastating. Hold it. Let me stop right there. 49ers. There's a power ranking out. Guess who the top 2 teams are? The Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers. Could these 2 teams be on a collision course, and could they be facing each other, possibly being undefeated in that big showdown? Remains to be seen. I think it would be a game for the ages. All right, back to Seattle. The Seahawks lost not just one, but both of their starting offensive tackles in the second half of Saturday's loss. Cross was carted off the field with a toe injury, while Lucas left with a knee injury. The severity of both injuries are still being determined. The Jayhawks. Yeah, I gotta laugh at myself on that one. The Seahawks crumbled in the second half, having run 14 plays for 12 yards in that span, punting 4 straight times. Seattle needs Lucas and Cross back soon. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The run defense is back. After finishing 15th in rushing yards allowed per game and 19th in yards per carry allowed last season, Tampa Bay's run defense looked like its dominant self again. The Vikings had just 41 rushing yards and averaged 2.4 yards per carry as Tampa Bay's defense forced Minnesota to become one-dimensional, having Devin White and Levante David back at off-ball linebacker certainly helped the Buccaneers get back to that 2019 through 2021 form. Tennessee Titans, they have a quarterback problem, as if we didn't already know that. Ryan Tannehill was terrible against the Saints, going 16 of 34 for 198 yards and 3 interceptions for a passer rating of 28.8. The Titans scored just 15 points and had no offensive touchdowns while averaging 4.9 yards per attempt. 2 of Tannehill's interceptions were attempts to DeAndre Hopkins, who was targeted 13 times in his debut. All of Tannehill's interceptions were in the pocket, creating even more concern going forward. With no backups better than Tannehill on the roster, the Titans have to ride it out and hope the veteran plays better going forward. And last but not least, the Washington Commanders. The defensive front is still very good. The Commanders were credited with 11 pressures in the win over the Cardinals, finishing with 6 quarterback hits and 3 sacks. Montez Sweat had 1.5 sacks, but Deron Payne was the catalyst for Arizona, having just 38 rushing yards in the second half and scoring just 3 points. This front didn't have Chase Young, but they were still dominant. Can you imagine what happens once they get Chase Young back? That's going to be even more scary. Well, that right there is going to do it for me today in the zone. Hope you enjoy it. Give me your feedback. Tell me what you think. Would love to hear some feedback from all of you, my listeners out there. But until the next time, remember to always stay locked in the zone. I'll be back with you again sooner rather than later, as it's football season. Until next time, be blessed.